Today I'm going to ask an unusual question. Could toxicity be the root of all chronic illness? Now, if you've been on a healing journey for any length of time, chances are you've watched a lot of videos like this. You've heard a lot of different explanations for the true root cause of your symptoms. You may have been told, oh, you need to address your thyroid, or it's all in your sex hormones, or it's all about your gut bacteria, or you probably have parasites, or you just need to retrain your nervous system. The reality is, all of these things can play a role, and it really rarely is just one thing that is going on when you have a complex chronic health issue. But I just want to give some perspective today to zoom out and consider, what if toxicity was the major root cause of most chronic illness? I think it's a valid possibility, and I want to break down why and then what we can actually do about it. So let's start with the basics of understanding this perspective. Your body is virtually a threat detection system and detoxification machine. If we are going to break down all your beautiful humanness to just the bare essential functions, that's really what's going on. Your body is designed to detect threats and then detoxify them. We have an entire network of organs, in fact, designed exactly to detoxify all the time. We have liver, kidneys, colon, lungs, skin, and lymphatic system. And a lot of those that I just named, you might say, gosh, I didn't even know that that was a detox organ. But yes, they all have a role in detoxifying. They all have functions to break down and eliminate harmful substances we might come into contact with. Now, this is not a new thing. Humans have always been exposed to toxins. A lot of time when we talk about toxins, we act like this is just a modern phenomenon. But the reality is, there are many toxins and all kinds of stressors that exist in the natural world that we evolved alongside of. Humans have been exposed to toxins for all of our history. And even in ancient societies, for example, like ancient Rome, we were exposed to all kinds of toxins because of metalworking. So our bodies have been dealing with toxicity for a long time. We are designed to self-cleanse so that we can thrive despite constant contact with these damaging and sometimes noxious compounds we find and accumulate in our environment. It is normal for humans to be exposed to toxins, and we're really good at detoxing. Now, this is the case even if you have genes that mean you are a slow detoxer. Now, a slow detoxer is very different than you don't detox. And I think a lot of people have a really severe misunderstanding of some of these genes that are showing up when they get their genes tested. And I think it's really terrible for different doctors to be telling their patients, you don't detox or you have compromised detox, because all these mutations mean is that you detoxify a little bit slower than other people. It doesn't mean you don't detox or you can't detox. It just means that everything I talk about in this video is even more important for you than for an average person. I always like to remind people, if you were not detoxing, you would be unalived in about 24 hours. So if you have survived to adulthood, you absolutely can detox, and we just maybe need to be a little more focused on it if you have certain genetic variants. Now, the main difference today that makes people with slow detox pathways more prone to chronic illness is the volume. Now, I mentioned even in ancient societies that have done metalworking, we've been exposed to toxins for a long time. But in the last 200 years, ever since the Industrial Revolution, and even more so in the last 100 years, ever since the end of World War II, we've introduced thousands of synthetic chemicals into our environment. These are pesticides, plastics, heavy metals, industrial solvents, all sorts of synthetic compounds in our daily products, and petroleum-based pharmaceuticals. We also tend to design homes that are more prone to overgrowth of mold. Our detox systems were just not designed to handle this kind of load. And when the body can't keep up, it doesn't shut down. No, we are much better survivors than that. We are, in fact, innovative survivors. So the body just starts storing toxins. It tucks them away into our fat cells, into our brain tissue, into our joints, into our connective tissues, all around our organs. It's a survival strategy. But over time, it's going to create some chronic and systemic inflammation. It is better than not surviving, but it can cause a lot of problems. So this is, in my opinion, the true place where a lot of chronic illness begins. Because those stored toxins are going to impair whatever tissues they're stored in. So for example, if toxins get stored in the nervous tissue in the brain, they're going to disrupt neurological function. If they get stored around really anywhere in our bodies, they could dysregulate our hormone production. If they're stored in the gut, they could burden our immune system and damage the gut lining, etc. They're going to create a cascade of dysfunction across the entire body. So that's why some people end up with such a long list of diagnoses. They may have an autoimmune condition because of toxins embedded into the connective tissue around an organ. They may have anxiety because of toxins embedded in the brain and nervous tissue. The toxins can get into the fat-based cellular membranes of the cell and cause a lot of fatigue. In your gut, they're going to cause more food sensitivities and food reactivities. They might start coming out of your skin and cause acne or rashes or eczema or other skin issues. And if we address each of those things separately, we're never going to get to the root of how they're all related. So we can see this pattern, right? Every specialist treats one system, but no one is asking the bigger question of why the entire system is so inflamed in the first place. Now, I want to emphasize, toxicity isn't just about what's coming in. I don't want people watching this video and becoming really scared of coming into contact with any kind of toxin. It's not about what you're coming into contact with. It's about what you can clear. Yes, your genes are going to influence this. So people who have slow detox pathways, and if you have a chronic illness, you probably have slow detox pathways, you're going to have to be more thoughtful about your toxic exposure. But really, everyone needs to be thoughtful about it in today's world. And even if your detox pathways are slow, we can modulate, we can turn up or down your body's ability to detoxify depending on your nutrient status, if you have any deficiencies, how healthy your gut lining is, if you have any kind of leaky gut that's allowing toxins to leak into your system, and how resilient your nervous system is. If you are in a calm state in your nervous system, or if you tend to get stuck in fight or flight. So if you grew up nutrient deficient, if you have a high stress lifestyle, or you know you have gut dysbiosis, you're going to be much more likely to accumulate toxins over time. So we still have to address those areas to support your body detoxing more efficiently. Your body is a master at masking toxins. Remember, a body full of toxins can still survive, even in most cases, mostly function. It's a matter of where the toxins are stored, where you're going to have symptoms. And remember, the body is really good at hiding toxins. So if you're thinking you're going to go run out and test for heavy metals and mycotoxins and pesticide residue, they might not show up on tests. In fact, I've had lots of people who are very ill and clearly have a high amount of toxicity tell me they've come up negative for heavy metals or pesticides when they took a test. This does not mean the toxins aren't there. It means your body is storing them deep in tissues, keeping them out of the blood, urine, and stool. Those are the places they need to go to detoxify, but they're going to give you more acute symptoms. So this is a survival strategy, but it comes at a cost. If we take the approach of looking at toxicity as the root cause, we need to rethink the way that we tend to approach common conditions. For example, are you someone that has treated for candida and been on an anti-parasite or antifungal diet over and over again, but your symptoms keep coming back? What if this means that the candida and parasites are not just because of what you're eating, but they're actually there as a response to toxicity? Some of these organisms help us buffer the body from toxins. So for example, candida can bind to heavy metals and protect the cells from them. Parasites can help sequester heavy metals as well, and some people think maybe even pesticides. So it's only when the terrain becomes overwhelmed with toxins that these organisms may be allowed to overgrow again and again. So we can't just always butt our heads against a wall, just attacking the microbes over and over again with herbs and medicinal diets. Sometimes if that's not working, we have to address the underlying toxic burden, or your symptoms are just going to keep coming back. So no, toxicity is not the only root cause of chronic illness. It would be a catchier video if I was telling you that it was. But it is a very deep layer, and it's one of the most important, and it often does get overlooked, but it's something we can do a lot about. So if you came to work with me, I would be giving you a very individualized detox protocol for exactly your level of sensitivity and what we are suspecting that you are dealing with. But right now, I'm going to give you some tips where you can start supporting your body's natural detox pathways through simple steps. So make sure you're implementing these first. The first thing is to reduce what's coming in. There's a lot of modern day pollution that obviously we can't avoid, but let's focus on what we can avoid. If we reduce our overall burden, our body will have an easier time naturally getting rid of the rest. So start with looking at your cooking tools, getting rid of things like Teflon and aluminum, and instead switching to high quality stainless steel and cast iron. Change out your cleaning products. Switch from all your harsh chemicals to things like vinegar, baking soda, and really simple Castile soap with minimal ingredients. Change out the things you use for your hygiene regimens as well. You can use things like beef tallow and coconut oil and maybe some very pure essential oils for some fragrances. You really want to ditch any synthetic fragrances, candles, plug-ins, and avoid using plastic containers for your food and water whenever possible. If you do all of that, it's going to make a huge difference. Now, let's talk about probiotics. Probiotics are often thought of as an important intervention for gut health, but did you know that probiotics also chelate metals? So a high-quality probiotic may be in order and be really effective for helping you detox. But even more effective are the home-fermented foods. I always encourage my clients to learn to make their own kefir, sauerkraut, and beet kvass at home. These are going to be so much more powerful than any commercial probiotic. However, if you have things like histamine intolerance or you're just a very sensitive person, introduce them very slowly. I'm talking a drop at a time. They will still be very potent. So the next thing is to make sure you are also nourishing your liver. You can nourish your liver with a lot of liver supportive foods. My favorites are beets, dandelion greens, fennel, and cruciferous vegetables like broccoli. Make sure your bowels are moving regularly. Daily is ideal. You can supplement magnesium, potassium, or a little extra salt in your water if you're having trouble with that. You might just be dehydrated. Or if transit time is an issue, you can use at-home enemas, coffee enemas, or saltwater enemas just to help you until your gut gets healthier and your transit time speeds up a little bit. This makes sure that toxins going through your colon are being efficiently excreted. I always recommend people try to sweat regularly if possible, either with a sauna or just getting up your body heat through hot yoga or a walk on a hot day or exercising. If you're not ready for that yet, that's okay. You can skip it for now. Even just some gentle movement, some rebounding or stretching or breath work is really helpful to stimulate lymphatic flow. So just start wherever your body is at. Lastly, you may really want to replenish your minerals. We know now that heavy metals will replace places in our body where we're mineral deficient. So metals can replace common minerals like zinc, magnesium, selenium, calcium, and iodine. So it may be really helpful to drink mineral-rich tea, like nettle is really good. You may try to add some seaweed into meat stock or broth to help get a little bit of extra minerals in there as well. You may need to supplement. I do recommend doing something like a hair trace mineral analysis to see where you're specifically low in minerals. We do that testing at Whole Body Healing if you're interested in it. The last thing is to calm your nervous system. Remember, your detox pathways get very slow when you're in fight or flight or freeze. If your body thinks that you are in an acutely threatening situation, it's not going to focus on detoxing. So try doing some humming or chanting for vagus nerve stimulation. Try doing some nervous system retraining practices. I really love trauma release exercise as well as neuromeditation. We teach these in all our program. But even just a simple grounding or mindfulness practice can make a big difference. Just put your feet on the floor a few times a day. Feel your feet against the floor. Remember who you are, where you are, when you are, and just tune into some sensory cues in your environment to help you be really present. You don't have to live a perfectly non-toxic lifestyle to heal. You just have to reduce the burden enough that your body can catch up. So yes, chronic illness is complex, but toxicity is a common thread. And when we shift our focus away from chasing our different symptoms to removing the underlying root toxic burden, the body will respond. So detox really isn't a trend. It's a way to reclaim our health. If this message resonates, share it. Your body knows how to heal. We just have to clear the way.